folks. We are here at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. We are here for qualifying for the Uncharted guys for tomorrow's AGB 500 here from the Texas Motor Speedway. 11 cars going to come out onto the racetrack. The first one going to be the 09 for Thibodeau Motorsports, that Uncharted car coming out onto the racetrack. And in the 09 car this week is going to be, let me pull up the list here, Declan Wellington Turner in the 09. We have the 31 of Max Anderson, the 50 of Jackson Harrison, who actually won the pole for the Kansas race for Cabela's. He is back for the second week in a row. Timothy Ruiz in the 57. And the 7 of Reagan Whitlock, the 91 of Quentin Moore, the 54 of Alex Watts, the 99 of Caleb Rose, the 41 Aiden Macro, the 26 of Roberto Crown Jr., and the 80 of Igor Barreto. So that is the Uncharted field here coming into the AGB 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. And we are ready to get qualifying underway here. First lap for Declan Wellington Turner is a 27.249 for that 09 car. And he will remain on the board for the time being, as Anderson and Harrison came around, placed slower lap times for now. Obviously, it is still early. And Boston Jones slower as well in that 57. Turner still on the top of the board. And so it's just the top 4 right now at Texas Motor Speedway. Still waiting for the other 7 to make it 11. And now to the top of the board, Boston Jones in the 57 takes to the top of the board with a 27.068. A brilliant lap for that driver from Team Ninja Rapids. Maximum Motorsports single car team in the Scots National Series. He has just laid down a fantastic lap, but the defending week's pole sitter, Jackson Harrison, has now gone to the top of the board of the Uncharted guys with a 26.926. Brilliant lap there. Now Aiden Macro will go to the top of the board. We are just under 7 minutes away from seeing who of the 2 Uncharted drivers that will be advancing to the full field qualifying session. It's been an interesting one so far, but right now it's Full Frontal Motorsports' Aiden Macro leading this race, leading this session rather, and now it's going to be the 26 of Roberto Crown Jr. with a 26.792 coming out of that 26 car. Brilliant lap there. He and Aiden Macro are now first and second on track right now, as Boston Jones will move into second and knock Aiden Macro out of it. Just over 6 minutes remaining. Igor Barreto moves into the second position, as Roberto Crown Jr. moves right back into the second position in car number 26. A 26.792 to the 26.759 that Jackson Harrison laid down to put him on the top of the board. And now we are under 6 minutes remaining. Coming around, Reagan Whitlock does not improve on his lap time. Or actually, he did improve on his lap time. That's his best lap, but only 8th overall for car number 8. Or 7, rather. But still, the fastest lap of the session. Never mind. Hello to Aiden Macro with a 26.658 out of car number 41. Aiden Macro having a good session here late in this, just at halfway a 26.658 to Igor Barretto's 26.685. And no overtaking the time coming there from the 80 of Barretto. As now 4.5 minutes remaining here in uncharted qualifying. Some cars down in the pits getting some adjustments made. It's the 41 of 80 macro. Looks like Jackson Harrison's coming back out onto the racetrack. He's third on the board right now. Macro first, Barretto second, Harrison third, Crown fourth, Jones fifth, Turner sixth, Anderson seventh, Whitlock eighth, Rose ninth, Watts 10th, and Moore 11th. That is the standings right now in this qualifying session. And of course, it's only the top two advancing out of uncharted qualifying to move on to the main field. And just over 3 minutes remaining here at Texas Motor Speedway. Declan Wellington Turner has been a consistent driver so far in the Scots National Series. With that EL Racing number 11 team, didn't have a spectacularly great run at Kansas, if I remember right. His teammate, though, Jackson Harrison, finished inside the top 10. But he slipped a little bit later in the race, particularly after pit cycles. So he's coming into this weekend with vengeance on the mind. He would love to turn it around and rebound after what was a really sluggish weekend for him. And getting some practice here under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. For not only Scott's, but also the AGB 500 if he makes the show. But right now, nothing much is changing on the top of the board. It is still Aiden Macro and Igor Barretto advancing to the main session. 26.658, 26.685. And they're the only drivers to put anything in the 26.6 so far. But now we are running out of time. A minute and 20 remain here at Texas. Macro and Barretto trying to hold on. Harrison the first one out. Crown out. Wellington Turner out. Jones out. Anderson out. Whitlock out. Rose out. Watts out. Moore out. There's the slowest car of the session right there. Quentin Moore in the 91. Still not improving on his lap time there. Laid down a 27.007 as opposed to a best lap of 26.938. As now time is beginning to run out here at Texas Motor Speedway before we move on to the full field qualifying. It was a 27.145 for Macro that time by. Not going to best his lap of a 26.6 7.58. But he was about 7/10 off of it. Now down to a 26.901. We'll see if anybody can sneak in here in the top two as time is beginning to run out here in the qualifying session at Texas Motor Speedway. Right now as it stands, it's going to be Macro and Barretto. But we have a reset. We are not quite done yet. Whitlock will not work his way up. How about Boston Jones? No. Not going to happen for anybody else. It is going to be Aiden Macro and Igor Barretto advancing to the HEB 500 here from uncharted qualifying. And Harrison, Crown, Turner, Ruiz, Anderson, Whitlock, Rose, Watts, and more are going to be headed home after this, at least from the Cup Garage. They still have Scott's later on, but well, now that we got that sorted out, let's go to full field qualifying here for the AGB 500 at Texas. And here we are for full field qualifying for the HEB 500. Instead of 15 minutes today, we're going to be doing 10 minutes for this session too, because, well, not a whole lot has really happened in the final 5 minutes of the 15-minute sessions, so we're just going to go ahead and do 10 minutes and end it there for this session. First car on the track is going to be Ben Gorch in the 78s, but it's important to remember that the first car on track not always is the fastest. Very rarely does that happen. Gorch will come around and start his first official timed lap. Get the green flag right there. See what line he takes here. He's taking now down to the bottom. He started off in the middle, down to the bottom, now up to the top at the exit of the turn. Looking out for the traffic there. Now trying to ride the high line. This is going to hurt his lap for sure. First lap for Ben Gorch is a 28.046. Surely somebody could surpass that. Surely. And the man to do that is Steven Colon in car number 98 with a 27.718. Beautiful lap there of that NS Racing driver. Joey Hightower, Kansas winner, now to the top of the board with a 27.312 for Rock Car Racing and Arthur Xavier. As there he is on the track, taking the higher line around Ethan Lewis. So we may or may not have had the Scots National race yet once this race goes up. Another thing we got to keep an eye on is the CarQuest Indy Racing League race here, the Firestone 125K. That should be an absolute barn burner, but we're not going to use this version of Texas that we're using for everything else. We're going to go ahead and use the 2020 version of Texas because Matt Tuck actually put together a fabulous INI for that particular version with PTA physics. So shout out to Matt for that. He's really done me a service by sending me that INI he made for Indy cars at Texas. But to the top of the board, Chase Buck in the 4 with a 27.017. 3/100ths faster than second place. And now he cracks the 26s. 26.986. Still number one is Rosero. Jumps into the 26s as well. Now Kanan Biller actually ties with Chase Buck for the qualifying lead there. You won't have to worry about the tie as Igor Barreto moves to the top of the board in car number 80 with a 26.970. Sucking up to the draft behind Nathan Smith in the 84. And trouble in turn 3. And big trouble. Watson, Miller, and Rosero getting together here in qualifying. Trey Wright gets a piece there in the 90 as he comes in. And Daisy Johnson's also going to get a piece. I think we might be done now, though, as Miller gets hooked back up in the field. Look out behind. And I think we might be good. Well, still waiting to see how does everybody get by. But meanwhile, Ryan Durrani to the top of the boards with a 26.793. He is moved into provisional pole position. And some of these drivers are going to have to go to backup cars now, for sure. Second place, Rowe. Third place, Arnsdorf. Fourth place, the 80 of Barreto. As Johnson, you see smoking on the inside there, having been caught up in that front stretch incident. And this time for Ryan Durrani, 27.391, well off of his pole pace, but doesn't matter. He's just cruising right now with just over 4 minutes remaining in this session. Only 9 drivers have cracked the 26 range, and Durrani is the only one to get below a 26.9. He has a 26.7. So he is just flying around Texas Motor Speedway. Some of these guys are flying too, literally and metaphorically. But here we are with 3 minutes 40 seconds remaining here in full field qualifying for the HEB 500. Durrani with a mirror full of Rockingham winner Charlie Davenport there in the 19. Sam Oskin going to get down low on Josiah Robinson there. And coming around to lay down another lap in qualifying, Trey Wright back out onto the track in car number 90. He's got his backup car out and moves into second on the board. 26.926. That accident may have been the best thing that could have happened to Trey Wright. Second on the board. And he's going to come back down onto the pit road now. Absolutely beautiful lap there for Trey Wright. So it is Durrani, Wright, Parrish, Rowe, Kugelon, Arnsdorf, Barreto, Smith, Rorich, as we had some shuffling go around. Cologne up to second, Kugelon to fifth. Rorich still rounds out the top 10. So we'll go Durrani, Cologne, Wright, Parrish, Kugelon, Rowe, and never mind, it changed again. And it's still changing. They got to get the changing out of their system here as we get later and later on in this qualifying session. Will Parrish will join Durrani, and RJ Rosero apparently is the only drivers to hit 26.7 second laps. That will move Will Parrish into provisional pole position. Don't know whether that's going to be a good thing for him or not. And Stapleton slow on the apron there. He'll come to a stop. And he'll get his car taken to the pit road. Meantime, qualifying continues here at Texas Motor Speedway. Parrish trying to hold on to provisional pole position here in this final minute. Kukulon in the 82, the 6th place starter right now at this point. Would love to be on the inside in 5th place to start this race, I can guarantee that. Considering almost all the momentum is going on at the bottom of the racetrack. Even on this older version of Texas. And Brad Stover shows us why. Right there. 25 seconds to go here in full field qualifying. Parrish is ahead of Rosero by 5 1/1000ths of a second and 51 1/1000ths of a second over Ryan Durrani in the 34. 5 seconds remaining in this session. We might get a reset though. 26 seconds as Kip Silverpoint comes out on to the racetrack. And 10 seconds remaining as a big jam up there, headed off into turn number 3. And looks like Will Parrish might walk away with this in this final half minute. "20 seconds to go. It is Will Parrish on the provisional pole position right now, ahead of RJ Rosero, Durrani, Colon, Fragniti, Kukulon, Davenport, Wright, Rowe, and Collins. The top 10 likely coming out of Texas Motor Speedway qualifying here, and indeed. So it's going to be Parrish, Rosero, Durrani, Colon, Fragniti, Kukulon, Davenport, Wright, Rowe, and Collins, the top 10. Heading into tomorrow's HEB 500 right here from the Texas Motor Speedway. Scrolling through the rest of your standings there, the driver with the worst lap there was Benny Watson in the 53 with a 27.252 out of that Velocity Ford. But the two-time winner will have a good opportunity to work his way up through the front the way this version of Texas is. So that'll wrap us up here for qualifying. We'll see you tomorrow for the race. And until then, y'all have a good one.